Morgana wakes up in a cold sweat from a nightmare in which Arthur is slowly sinking underwater, a young woman standing over him with her arm outstretched. Arthur and Merlin are out hunting in the forest and Arthur getting increasingly frustrated with Merlin's clumsiness. When they hear cries for help, an elderly man and his young daughter are being attacked by Terence and his robbers. Arthur jumps into the fray and begins to fight them off, with Merlin discreetly helping by making a tree branch fall on one of his opponents. They kill the robbers, but Terence himself runs away into the forest. Arthur dismisses the tree branch as a stroke of luck, and Merlin shouted to the running man saying, "And let that be a lesson to you," as Arthur watches Merlin with a face like, what it's supposed to be. Arthur introduces himself to the couple. The names are Ulfric and Sophia, and Arthur seems instantly interested in the latter. Back at the court at Camelot, Ulfric explains to Uther that their home was destroyed by raiders. Ulfric is the heir to another kingdom named Tir Mor. They're traveling to their family in the west. Uther invites them to stay in Camelot until they are ready to resume their journey, and Arthur and Sophia exchange a smile as she leaves the room. At Arthur's behest, but it was more Merlin who pushed Arthur to that decision. Sophia is installed into the room next to his, but as Merlin gives her blankets at the door, Morgana comes down the stairs and spots her going inside. She recognizes her instantly from the girl in her dreams and asks Merlin who she is. After learning that Sophia and her father are welcome in Camelot, Morgana goes to Gaius to tell about her vision of Sophia and the fact that Sophia is now staying at the castle. Gaius tries to dissuade her and gives her a sleeping draught to induce a deeper sleep and advising her not to worry Uther. Morgana is not convinced. In a campfire in the forest, the last remaining bandit meets with Ulfric to receive his payment for the fake robbery earlier in the day. His complaints about the deaths of his friends are short-lived, for Ulfric quickly finishes him off with a bolt of energy from the staff he carries. That night, Morgana has the same dream of Arthur drowning at Sophia's hands in the lake. The following morning, Arthur expresses a wish to show Sophia around Camelot, only he needs Merlin to cover for him considering he's supposed to be on patrol duty. Merlin is hesitant to lie to the king, but Arthur's enthusiasm about Sophia wins him over. As the couple gallop out of the courtyard, they are watched from an upper window by Morgana and Guinevere. Gwen encourages her to tell Uther about the dream, but Morgana is too afraid Uther would punish her for using sorcery. She resolves to stop Sophia herself. When Uther realizes that Arthur is missing from his duties that morning, Merlin takes the blame and reluctantly tells him that he forgot to check with the guards over whether or not Arthur had guard patrol. Merlin suggests that he be let off the hook just this once. Later, Merlin is being pelted with vegetables in the stocks. Meanwhile, Arthur and Sophia are wandering through the forest when she takes his hands and looks into his eyes, chanting the words to a spell. But before she can finish, a bolt from a crossbow slams into the tree between them and Arthur tackles her to the ground. A group of royal knights hunters in the forest begin to apologize for the mistake, and after Sophia snaps at Arthur for picking up her staff, he decides to go back to Camelot rather than taking her to the river. Merlin enters Gaius's chambers covered in vegetables and shares what he knows about Arthur's instant attraction to Sophia and his desire to spend time with her. Gaius quietly takes this in, recalling Morgana's dream. Later, he enters Ulfric's room and discovers his staff leaning against a wall. Just as he's examining the runes carved into it, which add to the mystery of just who Ulfric and Sophia are, he is then caught snooping by Ulfric, but manages to come up with an excuse and escape, but not before seeing Ulfric's eyes flash red with anger. After bidding Arthur goodbye with a kiss on his cheek, Sophia bumps into Morgana on the stairwell. Brushing aside her attempt to be polite, Morgana demands to know why she's in Camelot and tells her that she knows what she's planning to do to Arthur. Sophia brushes her off as a jealous rival and enters her father's room in order to spout the following exposition. Ulfric, you've not been gone as long as I expected. Sophia, we were interrupted. Ulfric, what happened? Sophia, I was nearly killed. For a moment, I felt what it would be like to die a mortal death. He saved me. Someone so weak, so feeble, saved me. I can't bear to be like this a moment longer. Ulfric, you won't have to. Once his heart is yours, the gates of Avalon will open once again for us and we can regain our true form. Sophia, I need a little more time. Ulfric, you must hurry. The physician can see us for what we truly are. Sophia, and he is not alone. The Lady Morgana. She fears her powers, but that will not keep her quiet for long. Ulfric, tomorrow, you have to finish the enchantment, otherwise our chance to rid us of these mortal shells will be lost forever. Morgana has decided on a new plan of attack and goes to Arthur's room to try and talk him out of spending time with Sophia. An amused Arthur chalks it up to Morgana getting territorial and simply laughs off the fact that she's had nightmares about Sophia. Merlin is surprised to find Arthur fully dressed the following morning, in order to spend time with Sophia rather than attend the appointment of a new royal knight. Arthur extracts another promise for Merlin to cover for him, and once again, he ends up in the stocks. Out in the forest, Sophia successfully completes the spell over Arthur and both pairs of eyes glow red, which brings Arthur under her control. On seeing that Merlin is once again covered in food and Arthur nowhere to be seen, Gaius shares his suspicions about Sophia with Merlin. That Morgana is a seer, born with the power to view the future in her dreams. He has known for a while about her ability but kept this quiet in order to protect her from Uther. He suspects that Arthur is indeed in danger as Morgana fears, because of what he saw whilst investigating the room of Ulfric and Sophia. In Arthur's chambers, Sophia is strengthening her hold over Arthur, insisting to him that they're in love but that people will want to separate them. A doozy-looking Arthur protests that he'll never let anyone part them, and Sophia seals the enchantment with a kiss. Outside her chamber door, Sophia informs her father that Arthur is ready. Ulfric leaves her, telling her that he must speak with the elders, who resemble fairies. The exchange is witnessed by Merlin, who follows Ulfric out into the forest to the lake of Avalon. Time slows down as Ulfric cries out an enchantment over the lake, and Merlin watches in awe from behind a tree as blue fairies emerge from the waters. Ulfric, I come before you to plead for the chance to win passage back to Avalon and a life of immortality. Fairy, your punishment for killing another she is a mortal body and a mortal life. You will never be able to return to Avalon. Ulfric, the crime was mine, not my daughter's. Fairy, the gates of Avalon remain closed to your daughter, unless the soul of a mortal prince be offered up to them. Ulfric, thank you. An immortal life for my daughter is all that I desire, so I promise you the soul of the greatest prince of all. Arthur Pendragon. And then he laughs. Back in the physician's quarters, Gaius is stunned that Merlin glimpsed Avalon, the land of eternal youth, a place that no mortal has yet seen. Merlin is more concerned about Arthur and what Sophia wants with him, and Gaius identifies father and daughter from the runes of their staffs as the powerful creatures of magic. Morgana's dream is coming true. Arthur requests an audience with the king. As he stands before Uther, Morgana and the court in the council chamber and requests permission to marry Sophia. Uther tries to make a joke of it, but when it becomes apparent that Arthur is deadly serious, he turns nasty. He threatens to have Ulfric and Sophia arrested and executed, and when Arthur yields, Uther shoots him down further by telling him that he's got his whole life ahead of him. The court disperses. As Uther strolls down the corridors with Morgana at his side, she tries to warn him about the seriousness of the situation. But Uther refuses to see it as anything but an infatuation, and Morgana teeters on the edge of telling him about her nightmare. This is how their conversation takes place. Morgana, she's dangerous. Uther, dangerous. To who? Morgana, Arthur. Uther, why do you say that? Morgana, I just have a sense, a feeling. Uther, and what has she done to make you have this feeling? Morgana, nothing, yet. It's what she's going to do. I don't know how to tell you this. Uther, try. Whatever it is, you can tell me. Morgana, I've just seen girls like this before. They string men along and then drop them. I don't want to see him get hurt. Uther, I know you want to protect him, but some lessons we have to learn for ourselves. He'll hurt for a week and then Sophia will be forgotten. Morgana, I hope so. Uther, are you sure there's nothing else behind this? Morgana, yes, it's nothing. In Arthur's chambers, Merlin walks in on him packing his bags and tries to tell him that he's been enchanted. He almost gets through to him when Sophia and Ulfric enter the room and urge Arthur to run away with them. Merlin points out their red eyes and their staffs, at which point Ulfric uses another bolt of energy to throw Merlin back against the wall. From her window, Morgana sees Arthur leaving the castle with Ulfric and Sophia, and rushes to Gaius in terror. Morgana, I know you don't believe me, but I'm so sure it's going to happen. My dream's going to come true. Gaius, I do believe you. Morgana, I've got to tell Uther. Gaius, you can't. Morgana, I've got to do something. If I don't, then Arthur will die. Gaius, you can't tell Uther about your dream. If Uther thinks you've got the seer's power, he'll charge you with witchcraft. Morgana, I don't have a choice. I couldn't live with myself knowing I'd let him die. Gaius, wait. We've known each other a long time. You trust me, don't you? Morgana, yes, you know I do. Gaius, then trust me now. Stay here and don't say a word to anyone about this. Morgana, but Arthur. Gaius, I'll take care of it. Morgana, where are you going? Gaius, to find someone who can help. Gaius finds Merlin knocked out in Arthur's room and raises him up, telling him that it was only due to his own magic that he survived at all. Merlin is acting like a drunk person. Gaius tells him to be cautious and be careful as Merlin rushes into the forest after Arthur. Ulfric and Sophia are walking in slow motion, which gives Merlin ample time to catch up with them as they reach the Lake of Avalon. At its shores, Sophia learns that her father has bargained only for her life in exchange for Arthur's, and the two share a tearful goodbye before she leads a call like Arthur into the waters. Ulfric begins to shout the words of a spell and Sophia pushes Arthur back into the water just as Merlin crashes through the trees. He magically draws Sophia's staff to him, which was lying on the bank, and uses a spell with the staff, points it at Ulfric and repeats the incantation. The staff shoots a bolt of energy and Ulfric explodes. Sophia shrieks and Merlin repeats the procedure at her. She also explodes. Merlin throws off his jacket and dives into the water as images of Morgana's vision come to pass. Arthur sinks down into the water, but Merlin manages to grab him and swim them both to the surface. Back at the castle, Arthur awakens in his own bed with no memory of what Sophia did to him. Gaius and Merlin watching him in concern. The events of yesterday come back to him and he's horrified to realize that he had asked his father permission to marry Sophia. Merlin tells him the rest of the story. He had actually planned to elope with Sophia that night, but luckily Merlin followed them, hit Arthur over the head with a lump of wood, and dragged him back to Camelot. Arthur swears them both to secrecy. In front of Uther and a baffled Morgana later that day, Arthur explains his disappearance by saying he went on a hunting trip to get his mind off Sophia and that Merlin was meant to inform him. And Uther tells Gaius to find a cure to Merlin's mental affliction, if not they will have to face a food shortage. This means of course that Merlin gets yet another turn in the stocks. Morgana returns to Gaius's chambers for some answers, but both he and Merlin are evasive about giving them. As Gaius fetches her a stronger sleeping draught, she and Merlin exchange sidelong glances. Still confused, she leaves for the night. Gaius, she must never find out the truth. Merlin, why not? She had a premonition that helped save Arthur's life. Gaius, and it could have cost her her own. If Uther ever found out, things would never be the same again. It must remain a secret. Merlin, is she like me? Can she use magic? Gaius, no one's like you, Merlin. Merlin, but she has the gift. Gaius, for her sake, I hope not. Later that night, Morgana suffers another nightmare again.